Greetings, everyone. Welcome once again to the Oz and Crew Reviews podcast. Here once again, I'm Oz with my co-host Mad Matt,
Evening.
and joining us again for this special occasion is our friend Test Zero.
Howdy, howdy.
So today we watched what is my favorite Robin Williams movie, Death to Smoochy.
It's a very unique film, especially for Robin Williams.
Yeah,
Yeah, this was near kind of the end of, not necessarily the end of his career, but when he was just trying to do the weirdest ass shit.
he wanted
He
to
was,
prove he could be more than just a kid-friendly character while
Basically.
while playing someone who wants to be a kid-friendly character but is insane.
It's
Well,
gone
you
off the
see him
deep
kind of
end.
doing this weird shit too, like in the stuff like 1 Hour Photo.
Mm-hmm.
He was just kind of playing this slightly unhinged guys. You could tell he just kind of wanted to go nuts with these movies.
Toys.
What was that movie he was in where he became president of the United States?
Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I don't remember what it's called though.
It was I'm looking through his IMDb. Man of the Year.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right, yeah, the poster had him wearing that wig.
Yeah, where he was kind of like in that he was kind of like a
He was
news.
like a comedian,
Well,
essentially.
he was like a a comedic news show host that was kind of like ripping on the politicians all the time, and then he ran as an independent and won.
That was where he said politicians should be changed. Politicians are much like diapers; they should be changed frequently and for the same reason.
But you wanna go through the quick little synopsis? I almost said TZ. Matt.
Okay, so breakneck speed or normal speed?
Just try to go over like the basic idea. I don't think we need to go into like incredible
Okay.
detail because there's too many jokes you'd be spelling out if you did that.
True. So the basic premise of the movie starts off with focusing on Williams' character, Randolph.
Yeah, Remo Randolph.
Uh, as he's on a big climb to fame. He's a big mascot star for children. They think you're Barney the dinosaurs, etc., etc. The usual kind of thing. Um, he gets caught trying to sell a frontline position for a family so that their kids can get on TV, and he's immediately arrested, prosecuted, and the whole 9 yards. So the studio, who's behind them all, demands that if there's going to be another show, it has to be with someone of character in real life that will not besmirch everything they're working for and not be a child, not be unfriendly to children kind of a person. Someone they can trust and that won't do shady stuff and get themselves into trouble. Otherwise, they literally are looking to just
Yeah.
replace it with a filler
As
at this point.
as the head of the company specifically says, squeaky fucking clean.
Spelled it out a couple times to John Stewart.
Oh yeah, that was who that was.
Yeah.
Speaking of comedic news anchors,
Right. So they have to find this guy who's basically down on to the point where he's doing like little musical numbers for like hospitals and stuff. And just because he's literally the most squeaky clean guy that they can find that isn't like already in hot water or in the background is known to have troubles that are brewing. So they finally bring in him. He starts to enjoy it at first, but then he starts to get annoyed that he has literally no control over the thing he's created, even though the studio picked him up. To which he then gets what do you want to call him?
An agent.
He gets an agent. Yeah, he picks up an agent.
Name of Burke,
eh,
played by Danny DeVito.
Yeah, but played by Danny DeVito, who's also the director, by the way.
I'm not surprised.
He picks up an agent played by Danny DeVito, and he finally turns it around. He starts to have full control of everything, but in the background, both DeVito's character as well as Stewart's character are running the things for the same same group of guys who are supposed to be like donating all this money to children's things like children's hospitals, etc., etc. But they do it by like skimming off the top, lining their own pockets, and all this other stuff going on, and doing shady business and selling like nasty products, which is exactly what Smoochy's creator doesn't want to do. So he continues to step by step try to counter them. And while this is also going on, Randolph keeps trying to pop up every once in a while and keeps trying to do something to undermine Smoochy or bring him down. And it keeps constantly backfiring one way or another on him to the point that he basically is about to give up several times before something else basically drives him to action once more. Because of all this stuff going on, he does a above table thing for a mafioso family who also owns a restaurant because he really likes the I believe it was previously a boxer who's
Yeah.
part of the family.
Yeah, his name is Spinner.
Spinner.
He's very obviously meant to be a parody of like Rocky Balboa but with brain damage.
Yeah, basically he's Rocky Balboa with a little water on the brain. Took too many hits.
So a little more brain damage.
But he's a sweet, honest guy, even if he's a little off the rocker. And they managed to get him a spot where he gets to play essentially cowbell for a number of episodes. But because of this also means that as long as he's making the family happy, they're more than willing to look out for him. And when stuff starts to happen, in particular, when they accidentally grab Spinner and kill him instead of Smoochy, the family immediately takes action not only to help keep an eye on Smoochy, but also find out who's really behind the crime and basically break their fingies. I believe, as a matter of fact, one of them gets their head removed once they find out who really did it.
Yeah, that scene was particular. The perfect line. Oh, you love children, do you? Do you love fairy tales? Hey, tell him the one about the useless prick who gets his head cut off with an axe.
Grim fairy tales, I see.
That line is just delivered so perfectly.
They are very careful to bring those people in when the moment really calls for it. But so they're still looking out for things because they realize something else is going on. There's got to be somebody else still out there that's possibly pulling the strings. And even though they're no longer tied to the company that was doing the fake children promotion stuff, both DeVito and Stewart's characters are still trying to line their pockets and even hire another hitman to try and take Smoochy down. Long story short, Randolph shows up at Smoochy's place, which used to be his place. They managed to talk him down. Matter of fact, they even allow him to stay at the place for a little while they're out doing the show. And as he's staying there, he finds out from one of the small actors that the hitman visited him trying to get info and get a pass into the building and stole it. Randolph runs in as best he can, but keeps getting sidetracked every once in a while by old fans. And manages to get in just in time for them to figure out what the two studio execs are doing up front, as DeVito's character in particular keeps looking up to the rafters, and that's when they spot the laser sight as the would-be assassin finally gets the gun ready and starts aiming for Smoochy. Randolph manages to get up there just in time to fight the gun away, even though the gun goes off at least a couple times and removes the horn from Smoochy. But the actor is unharmed and manages to get up just in time to see DeVito in particular running off and goes to give chase because he also decided for once to arm himself because he realized they're coming to get him one way or the other. The would-be assassin is accidentally knocked off the rafters. He dangles from
Randolph.
He dangles from Randolph for a little while, but eventually loses his grip and basically smashes into the ice and breaks every bone in his body. Randolph is pulled up by the police, who don't tackle him, but in fact are actually checking to make sure he's all right before he passes out. Smoochy gives chase. They manage to finally corner DeVito with the help of his, I guess, both executive as well as girlfriend now. At that point, they start having a thing together. And that's when once again, the mafia family pops in to basically talk him down, not to get on their level, and leave it to them. They'll clean up the whole mess, and they can go back out. And they basically have a happy kissing number while Hire starts to play, and the finale is basically all Smoochy and Randolph on ice, and again dancing to Hire. And the end.
Yeah, it has a really wholesome ending for what's a dark comedy throughout the movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is. It's described as a black comedy, and yeah, this is a very, very
Oh.
dark comedy. For, I mean,
You're gonna get a few good chuckles out of this thing, but you're also gonna have moments where you're just like, ooh.
because the biggest, I think the problem, this movie needed to either be way darker, or it needed to kind of have a more maybe cohesive plot, or at least a clear protagonist. Because I obviously like Smoochie is kind of intended to be the protagonist, but he's really not that interesting of a character. He's really kind of a punchline himself because he is just so comedically wholesome and such a dork.
He
And he has like absolutely no cynicism to him that
he's
they could really play with.
he's the hero. He's the hero, but like Robin Williams' character is really the draw of the movie for the most part.
Yeah.
But the thing is Smoochie's character does allow Rainbow Randolph to go from being a bitter, angry man to eventually turning things around. So the character that you actually enjoy watching more gets a redemption arc because of Smoochie.
The
Yeah.
problem is, I don't think he does enough to earn his redemption. He is just a terrible person throughout the entire movie. You don't want to see him redeemed. You want to see him punished at the end, honestly. At least that's how I feel about it.
Oh, I
Robert
feel
Williams'
he's
character is just so detestable because he hates this guy for really nothing that he has ever done. Like, he did nothing to him,
oh,
and even when he straight up confronts him and tells him, "Well, don't you hate this guy? Aren't you loving the fact that you stole his time slot and you're dancing on his grave?" It's like, no, I have no ill will against him. I just hope he gets the help he needs. It's like, this is just the guy just being genuinely just a good person, and he hates that for some reason. Honestly, I really could not relate to that as a villain.
to be fair though, every time he does do something bad, he manages to somehow bumble it, and he does get just desserts from it. As a matter of fact, doesn't he get the visit from the mafia too at one point?
Yeah, he
but
gets
he doesn't get killed for it.
he doesn't get killed, but he gets the shit kicked out of him
and,
repeatedly
and
throughout the movie.
and he's forced to tell the truth of what happened. Yeah, and on Smoochie's name.
When he framed him for the Nazi rally, the press trying to get something out of him as he's leaving the courthouse.
That's
The
the most
the
unrealistic thing
the
about this movie, that being at a Nazi rally can destroy your career.
This movie was made 20 years
I
ago.
know that. I know that. But that's really that's the thing that kind of surprised me the most. Is like, oh, Nazi. Oh, yeah, that'll kill your career. Nowadays, that's not even a bullet point.
Uh,
Let's
okay, so I think maybe we should go around and each say what our favorite scene was. You want me to go first, or one of you guys want to?
after you.
I the fucking cookies.
Oh,
When he tries to sabotage the cookies on the show, Rainbow Randolph replaces all of the cookies that were in the bag with cookies that are shaped like dicks. And just watching him, he's so gleefully waiting for Smoochy to pull a cookie out. He's like, "Give him a cookie! Give him a cookie! Come on!" When he takes one out and freezes, Randolph is so sure he got what he wants. But he pauses and he's like, "It's a rocket ship! A rocket ship! It's gonna take us to the magical forest." And Randolph just goes, he runs out in front of everybody, completely blows his fucking cover. It's like, "It's a penis! It's a Willy Wonka!" Just saying every single,
I'm doing his line-orama, yeah.
yeah, every
Yeah.
single slang you can have for penis. He makes sure to get out there.
It was made with
In front-
dildo.
And right in front of children too.
Because you're saying that he's not relatable, but I think his reaction when his plan doesn't work is, I think, how a lot of normal people, if they actually tried something like that, would feel if it turned out that way.
They wouldn't be silly enough to go out there and get themselves caught, but they would be sitting there shouting that basically at the monitor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like what the how because the fact that he actually
realize my brilliance.
the fact that he actually managed to, like, Smoochy knew what it was.
yeah.
But he bullshitted
Every
his
pause.
way out of it on camera live. Other than that, my favorite was the line about the axe.
Oh,
But that's not so much of a scene, that's more of a one-liner. What about you, Matt?
I'm gonna have to go with essentially what they start the movie off with is the scene where the boxer who's in cousin Moochie's outfit
Yeah.
exactly grabbed for Smoochy. From that point when you realize what's actually going on to the funeral, oh my word. It is both dark and humorous in multiple parts, especially at the very end of that scene where Smoochy is just like one by one saying his goodbyes to the family, and the last one's like, "Please just don't try to hurt somebody."
Yeah, because he knows what they're
He
like.
knows what they're about, and at least for on his behalf, they're good people. Just that sometimes being good people means you have to hurt the fingy dingies.
I suppose the scene that I liked was the one in the cab where the limo at least, where he's driving him off to the thing. He doesn't recognize Randolph is in his disguise, because like Robert Williams is in a bunch of different disguises in this thing. Like he's all kinds of different.
Yeah, that's
not
all.
necessarily all kinds of different characters, but just a character arc of him just being utterly down in the mud and just
That's kind of Robin
working on
Williams' thing in a lot of movies that he's in.
Yeah. Where he's just kind of like he's trying to bait him. He's trying to bait him to get him to tell how much he hates him. Because there's a lot you could read at that, because he's very self-loathing as well. He's projecting a lot of his own insecurities onto Smoochy. He thinks Smoochy feels this way about him when he doesn't. Smoochy, he has like absolutely no ill will toward the guy. So it's just kind of you see kind of his eyes like trying to reconcile the fact that he doesn't hate me, but I hate him, so obviously he must hate me back, but why doesn't he hate me? And it's just, you see these gears turning in his eyes until he finally drops him off at the Nazi rally.
Yeah. Which, oh my, that scene, the Nazi rally, oh my God. When, he's just standing in the bright light. Hold on, I gotta take a sip of a drink.
Oh yeah, when he's holding up his hand to block the light, and all of a sudden the lights do come on, and then you see everything with that hand gesture up. Oh God!
Just seeing a bunch of people in Nazi outfits get up and go, "Hail Smoochy! Hail Smoochy!" That was just insane.
I remember wanting to see this movie back in 2002 when I just heard about it, because I knew what it wasn't intended to be a movie. It was intended to be a dark comedy. It was supposed to be a satire of this sort of stuff. But as I'm watching it now, I never did see it before today, so this is like my first time actually getting around to seeing it. Because like even at the time, I had not heard necessarily good things about it. That it's just a very weird movie, which I agree with. This is a very it's a strange movie to try to parse into the larger concept of the dark comedy. Like, what exactly is this movie satirizing? And it's really
It's
hard to get a
satirizing
grip of what
children's
it's trying
television
to
and what actually
do.
goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, which I mean, that's the thing is that for the most part, they do really put a lot of effort into vetting children's entertainers specifically for this reason, because like any sort of controversy is the death of their career,
Just
not
F
just
nail
them, but the
instantly. Yeah.
producers and the people making the show. Which is why when you look into people like Mr. Rogers or Bob Ross, they did have a
Yep.
very genuinely wholesome background.
You,
They
you,
just
you
they got into this sort
right,
of stuff.
but you can say that, but at the same time, then you have stuff like Dan Schneider from Nickelodeon, who
Which I
lit.
don't remember too much about, unfortunately.
He was the producer on a lot of kids shows for Nickelodeon, and like I think iCarly in particular, he somehow worked a bunch of fucking fetish material into that show, showing close-ups of girls' feet for some reason, having girls get like white foam shot on their face,
Oh, jeez.
like stuff that anyone with a brain watching it is like, what the
Wait, what
fuck?
am I looking at here? Kind of material.
Like it's a thing a kid watching it probably just thinks it's something stupid, like somebody getting slimed on an old Nickelodeon show. But
Yeah.
Right.
an adult watching it is gonna be like, wait a minute, what the fuck did I watch when I was a kid? Which is why his kind of career has fallen apart
And
now.
exactly, and you see that sort of thing that happens, which I
But
mean,
but it is a thing where stuff like that does happen, where people get away with it for a certain amount of time before it becomes public.
yeah,
Before it
which
becomes
I
public
suppose
and people read
is
between
what's
those
true about the
lines.
fact that you can just sort of destroy his career just for being seen at a Nazi rally, and of course nobody allows him to defend himself because of course why would you ever say like I was. Of course, that's what you would say. Is like I didn't know it was a Nazi rally when I showed up. And but the thing is, he is that naive, that he is that gullible, that he would want to go out and help these children. That's just the kind of person he is. So if there's humor to be found, is the fact in this movie is the fact that this guy is so uh, just so syruply clean that he really has no cynicism in it, which is why it is really weird at the end when he just does change. He's trying to just straight up kill Danny DeVito.
Well, he's about to, but let's also take in the fact that the entire movie, people now have for like a half a film now, been hunting him down for weeks, maybe months, trying to kill him.
Yeah,
I think in that in a movie that had time to breathe and develop it a little bit more, some people are going to crack a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, because like it wasn't just that they tried to kill him; it's like he viewed them as being directly responsible for Spinner dying.
That too.
Like,
These are the people that killed Spinner. These are the people that have been tracking him down. These are the people that have been trying to get him killed and been trying to ruin his not just his life but his livelihood as well. They're also the ones that try to spin him for being a Nazi. Well, not them in particular, but yeah, these are the people who have been basically trying to ruin everything about his show again. And then because he won't go for their stuff, they want to get rid of him.
there is a good sense of cynicism in the producers. The fact that they just want somebody who looks good on camera, who is marketable and is squeaky clean, so they can sell products. That part, at least, that part I agree. That part is very relatable. That's why a lot of these shows are made. They want a character that's marketable. They want stuff that they can make toys out of, that they can merchandise. It's all about the merchandising. That I felt that part was very
yeah,
relatable. That
if
part is
you
very understandable satire.
and if you want to relate that to like more modern stuff, it's like look at the faces that YouTube always pushes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
It's they always have like the most milk toast content creators that have like next to no actual real personality, but they're family friendly, and
And the thing is, they weren't like that overnight. That was them. That was them slowly becoming homogenized through the YouTube algorithm, or they're getting rid of anything that will get them demonetized, things that will get fewer views. So they end up getting the most absolutely basic level of just clean, like you said, milk toast
yeah.
marketable content, and they produce it themselves. They have nobody coming in to censor it because they can't monetize it otherwise.
The only exception I can think of to that is I still never understood how the fuck Sniper Wolf got pushed as hard as she did. Yeah, the girl who's literally just because she's hot and reacts to TikToks.
Yeah, there you go.
That's she's not family friendly.
Had to find out she's a lying cheat too. So,
Yeah, not something we really need to go into.
but that's
detail
another thing. Yeah.
about. But yeah, but it's. I mean, it's really not even just. But yeah, it's not just children's television. It's entertainment in general. Is really what it is. Even if you're trying to portray someone as a badass, you don't want them to give you a bad image.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you look at like John Cena.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Milk toast of the milk toast boys.
Yeah, they've during the
But you still won't mess with him because he can bench press you.
during the Attitude Era, which started in the '90s, you had people like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, and most of the people since then have not had that kind of like attitude for their character. As far as people that got pushed in wrestling, everybody's been like a lot of people have referred to everything after that as the PG era. But are there any characters that we should specifically talk about? What kind of fucking name is Buggy Ding Dong? Oh my god. The actor's name Vincent Schiavelli. Have we seen him in anything else before?
I thought he looked familiar. Let me have a look. Oh, he was in a Bond movie.
Yeah, I haven't really watched much James Bond.
Buckaroo Banzai. That's where I know him
He was in
from.
the game Corpse Killer.
Buckaroo Banzai is where I know him from. That's a fun movie. He plays one of the aliens in that movie.
It was Mr. Bailey in Hey Arnold the movie.
Yeah, I don't think I've really seen any of the stuff he's in.
Oh, then you need to see some Buckaroo Banzai.
He was the pastor in Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh, Emperor Battle for
I
Doom. Yeah.
probably saw him in Sabrina the Teenage Witch then.
In one episode.
I've probably seen him in minor roles in TV shows or stuff.
Probably.
Before. That's probably why I recognize him.
Man on the Moon. I saw that movie a couple times.
I was getting Man on the Moon vibes from this movie, honestly. Probably because Danny Vito was in. He's talking about producing as like an agent.
The guy Harvey Fierstein that played Merv Green, the head of the Parade of Hope. That guy just had the perfect sleazy like mob boss.
Oh yeah, he's also another
thing.
another actor I've seen before. Yeah, Merv Green. Harry Feinstein. Where I have a oh gosh, what movie is that? Frick, I see a picture of him and I already know I've seen that movie before.
He's in Mrs. Doubtfire and Independence Day.
Paul, Call the Conqueror. He's also in Independence Day. Mrs. Doubtfire, so he was in another movie with Robin Williams. Oh, that's right. He was the guy that made the makeup for him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
He was apparently he was in the Ellen TV show as himself.
Oh, I mean, most people who appeared there, yeah. He was a voice for Mulan.
I'm not surprised. Like
He's another one of those
he
that
had
gets around quite a
he
bit.
had a very unique voice
Yeah, a
when he
lot of the
talked.
people in this have been like long time or
Yeah.
Hollywood
Oh wow,
lifers.
he even appeared in the. Here's how far back his IMDb goes. He appeared in an episode of Miami Vice. I mean, 1986, ladies and gentlemen.
He's still doing stuff.
Oh yeah,
It's just that the last probably like 15 years for him have been kind of sporadically spread out. He didn't have like
yeah.
roles every single year like some actors do. Oh, he's on his IMDb. He's listed as an actor slash writer. So
He's probably doing some other stuff too
yeah.
on the side. Soundtrack even.
Did I see? And I mentioned this before we started recording, but like Edward Norton, the guy that played Sheldon, aka Smoochy, like
Mm-hmm.
he I don't see him in too many memorable roles. Like he's got a long IMDb list, but like I have not seen most of the stuff he's in. I saw Fight Club, which I that'll be an interesting one to do at some point because I actually don't like that movie.
I fucking love Fight Club. I honestly, which I mean, there's kind of two different types of people who really love Fight Club, and kind of have to ask them to clarify why they like it so much because otherwise it could be problematic.
um, but aside from that, the only other thing I've seen him in is Glass Onion, which is the sequel to Knives Out. Oh
No,
wait,
he
no,
was in
he's in Alita Battle Angel, but I don't remember that
he was in
he
Birdman. He's in American History X.
he's listed as uncredited, so it's probably a background character in that movie. Oh wait, no, he actually I. You guys mentioned before he played the Bruce Banner in the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually never seen that because
Oh
I remember the previous one came out
Oh
that
yeah,
was
Ang
made.
Lee's Hulk.
Yeah,
yeah.
and I remember everybody hated that so much, and we're talking about how shitty it was. So I didn't watch that, and I didn't watch the next one because I just had no faith in it to be any good, and I
The
never
funny
went
thing is,
back
the
and watched it.
2008 Hulk is actually way better.
Much better.
I'm not
Yeah.
surprised, but like
Matter of fact, they brought it back. Everything that was brought up in that movie in the MCU eventually.
Yeah, so it is essentially part of the MCU. It's just a different actor in it.
Mm-hmm.
And wisely, they essentially started it without the origin story because you already kind of knew his origin story. So they just jumped right into it.
Yeah, because technically you did have the previous Hulk movie, even though that's technically not canon.
It's not canon, but
I,
it still tells the same story. So
yeah. Besides, I'd rather we skip the mutated poodle. Holy moly! Whoever thought that was a good idea for a movie?
yes. So I mean, the thing is, so at the end of the day, with this movie, what were you guys expecting going into it versus what you actually got?
All I knew about this movie for sure ahead of time was that I do recall seeing the cover, and I do recall seeing Robin Williams on it. But that still means to me it could be just about anything, especially given the time frame in which it was made.
yeah, I remember like hearing that it was essentially like the fact that it's called Death to Smoochy and it was kind of advertised. They always had this like very child friendly character on the. Is that you have to thing is that you see this, you see it's called Death to Smoochy, and you have to immediately think subversive parody movie or something of that ilk. Kind of like how the Banana Splits movie was like advertised as the Banana Splits movie, but it's actually a slasher movie. I kind of got that vibe from the advertising from it. I definitely didn't get what I expected, but I don't know what I expected going into it, honestly. I just remember hearing that it was very hard to categorize as a movie, which I definitely agree with.
Yeah, it hits a very odd particular balance. I'm sure people would prefer to lean one way or another, and honestly, I'm fine with where it's at. It's just, I would say the only conception I had to it was maybe I was expecting it to be a little more comical, but I'm fine with what I got.
Right.
I kind of expected something similar to like Eight Heads in a Duffel Bag, or like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, one of those like kind of dark comedies like that, are still like all about killing, or like this guy could randomly die at some as just a joke, or like Tropic Thunder, which is much more comedic in that sense, but it's still kind of that sort of a satirical bent on like filmmaking or the production
Like,
industry.
like
I
it,
expected something a little bit more like that, maybe.
like to me, it sounds like both of you guys didn't expect the main story to be taken as seriously as it was. Is that the easiest way to
Maybe a little
describe?
more comical, but I was also again not sure what to really expect because I had no idea outside the cover.
Yeah,
Uh, I, I
essentially.
I do think it's funny because you mentioned this before we were starting the movie up. The fact that you had heard a story about a mother that took her kids to see this TZ.
I don't. It's one of those like stories. Like I don't know where I heard it, or it could just be like an anecdote, or it could be like a story I heard from someone else. But yeah, like the mother took him to see Death to Smoochy, and and like 15 minutes later, she comes out. It's like that's not what that movie advertised. Like, well, it's called Death to Smoochy, and has this character on it. And second of all, this took you 15 minutes to realize it.
And also, it's rated R. Why did you take your kids to a rated R movie? It's clearly not meant for kids.
I heard a very similar story about Pendulet's The Aristocrats. That so like she thought it was the Aristocats.
But it's like, how many times have we had situations though where you hear stories about like an angry parent returning an M-rated
Exactly.
video
Yeah.
game?
Yeah.
It's
That's why this is just kind of like an apocryphal story. That
it's
I'm
it's
sure this
it's
happened somewhere, but
Gremlins.
I heard this like from a friend of a friend of another friend. Yeah.
I saw Gremlins as a kid and I didn't have any problems with it.
Apparently, parents were very angry at how dark Gremlins got at moments, and there's a lot of complaints, which is why in the second Gremlins movie they literally parody it.
Oh,
Yep.
so I guess any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Just the first minute of this movie, just watching Robin Williams just hanging out and singing with the kids. I am so disappointed we never got to see Robin Williams as Willy Wonka.
Oh man,
That would
That
have
would
been
have been
fucking
a
amazing
very,
because he has this
very interesting
he
movie.
has this like very child-friendly, very charismatic appeal while also coming off as mildly conniving and sadistic. That would be perfect for Willy Wonka.
yeah, I can agree with that. I think the reason I didn't have much of an issue with his redemption arc as you did, TZ, is uh, you got to keep in mind I'm the villain fanboy of the group,
Of course, yeah.
Technically on We Move.
kind of, but like
I'm literally a lich half my time on YouTube.
I like villain characters at least when they're written in a way where they're enjoyable to watch. Like there's some villain characters that are just written as like miserable and sadistic and evil in ways where you literally just want to see them get stabbed in the face
Hmm.
because of just how bad they are. But when someone's entertainingly evil, it's more forgivable.
That was the thing that kind of I guess that did keep me watching the fact like how much worse could this guy be? Like how much more egotistical can he get that just this person being nice is what sets him off?
Well, when he saw because it was completely unrelated to Smoochy, but he saw the guy take in donations to save
Save the
the
rhino.
save the black a rhino, and
Yeah.
he jumps out of it, starts slamming him on the ground. Save the rainbow! Save the rainbow! like if anyone wants to see Robin Williams just play an unhinged lunatic in a movie and they haven't seen this is the movie to see him probably play the most unhinged character he's played.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Hmm.
So I think that is it for tonight. Until next time, everybody, have a good one.